All right. Welcome to the Dirty South podcast on the Armchair All Americans Media Network. My name's Hank Sewell here with Erik Drew. Erik, where are you coming from, bud?
I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, Panthers territory, and I'm excited to get the show started.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm here in Athens, Georgia. Although I am a born Atlantan, I'm here up in Athens, Georgia, in Dogs Country these days. But yeah, so basically, the show is the Dirty South podcast. It is the Armchair NFL's NFC South show. We're going to talk some football. We got a Queen City Kitty and an Atlanta Dirty Bird. So we're good to go. We're all set, right? Am I missing anything else here?
Well, I mean, there are two other teams.
Oh,
but...
yeah. Well, those two teams don't really matter as much as our two teams do. Right? All right. Well, I guess the first thing we'll get the show started. Erik, go ahead and get your 28 to 3 jokes out of the way. I'll let you take one free shot right here. What 28 to 3 joke do you have for me? And I'll let you get it out of the way.
Honestly, at this point, it's not even a joke. I still can't comprehend the fact that if you're up 28 to 3 with like 2 minutes left in the third quarter of the Super Bowl, you find a way to lose. It's just
that comment almost hurts worse than a joke.
Texas A&M.
I almost rather you just like unload a joke on me or something like that. That was rough.
Texas A&M's taking a little bit of the brunt though away from the Falcons.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those things where I think just it's football. It happens. Obviously the play call was shit. I mean, the play calling in the Falcons game that second half. They got arrogant. They got cocky. The number one offense, highest scoring in the league. They just thought, all right, here we go. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. But, sometimes you got to run the ball. And I don't know why they decided not to in the Super Bowl. But,
I will say, you can call me a Patriots hater. I will say the Falcons lost that Super Bowl more than the Patriots won it, in my opinion. If they run the football and kick that field goal, game over.
Game over. Yeah,
same with the Seattle Super Bowl, though. If they run the football on the 1 yard line, game over.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the Patriots just keep getting handed Super Bowls. I mean, and it's by teams in. I mean, your Panthers have lost to the Patriots before. We've lost to the Patriots now. I mean, it's just a damn shame. It's disappointing. It's disheartening that both of our teams representing the teams in the NFC South podcast are the two teams without a Super Bowl. I mean, the Bucs got.
Let me just say that actually my team is the Philadelphia Eagles, but here in Panthers territory, I love covering the team because I can be completely objective about it. But when you mention no Super Bowls as an Eagles fan, I know what you mean. I know the pain.
Oh man, yeah, that's you guys even have a rougher history than we do. All right, but let's get the show started with. So basically, what I want to talk about is Cam Newton last 2 years ago, MVP. Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl hangover, wasn't great last year. What might separate Matt Ryan from his performances MVP last year, Super Bowl, devastating Super Bowl loss, and then this year? What would prevent him from having the same year as Cam Newton?
Well, for one thing, I think Matt Ryan has better weapons around him. They had a lot better – their running back tandem of Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, for one, is better than what the Panthers had last year. Jonathan Stewart, Cameron Arden-Payne, Gardis Payne, and Fozzie Whitaker. Another one is, he has Julio Jones to throw to.
Yeah.
Julio Jones.
That's just a great security blanket. And then, but the thing about it is Julio's receptions and targets have gone down over the years, and it's not because of injury. It's because there's just so many damn weapons on that team.
Oh, yeah.
And I really think you're onto something with the whole weapons thing. I mean, Cam had to be Superman to get to the Super Bowl last year with Jonathan Stewart's good, but he's not great. Devontae Freeman can carry a load. Tevin Coleman can carry a load. But yeah,
the other thing is the offensive line for Cam Newton was god-awful last season, especially after Michael Orr got hurt week 3 with a concussion. He was out the rest of the year. And, there was offensive line struggles the rest of the year. You saw Cam taking hit after hit after hit. It got into his head. You could see his frustration. And I think the Falcons have a little bit of a better offensive line this year than the Panthers had last year. So I think that's another huge part of it.
Yeah, no, and I definitely agree. I think that the offensive line is definitely where the issues either start or end. Because as long as your quarterback's upright, you have a chance to win, especially when the quarterback is capable of winning an MVP trophy. So yeah, I think that there is a difference between the hangovers. I I don't know if Matt Ryan can necessarily get over that demon of the 28-3 loss. I mean, because even we talked about the play calling. Why did Matt Ryan not check it off? He's to take some of the blame there because he's a smart kid. Now, you're not a kid anymore. He's almost 30. I think he's almost 30. He's in his 8th or 9th year in the league. He should have checked those plays off. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of arrogance on Matt Ryan's side too. But if there is a quarterback that I say this as a biased talking sense, if there's a quarterback that I can believe comes back from that, I'm hoping it's Matt Ryan.
You want to know another huge difference between the two teams?
What's that?
Carolina Panthers last year missed their all-pro cornerback, Josh Norman, tremendously. The Falcons don't have that huge void that they're losing from defense from last year to this year.
And the Panthers lost Luke Kuechly for numerous weeks last year. I mean, that's just the heart of their defense. The Falcons stayed healthy. That was the key to last year. They were healthy all year. The Panthers were not. No matter how good of your MVP quarterback is, he needs a defense.
Definitely.
Can't score every drive in the NFL. So I guess the offseason now, the biggest offseason additions for each team. What your Panthers made the biggest headline pick in the draft. Panthers made a huge splash in the first round, picking up Christian McCaffrey. He's the hot trend in fantasy football. He's the rumors are he has a whole section of the playbook to himself. I mean, what a realistic expectation? How many downs out of a drive is Christian McCaffrey going to play, and what are the realistic expectations for him?
Well, here's the thing. Christian McCaffrey is not just a running back. He honestly is at 3 positions in one. Christian McCaffrey is – people always say he's not big enough to take, carries through the tackle, between the tackles. He's only going to get 10 carries a game. Well, that might be true, but he's also going to line up in the slot. Certain formations, he's even out wide. He's going to catch passes from the backfield. I mean, he is involved in the game plan on just about every single down, whether he's running with a football or not. They're going to find a way. Offensive coordinator Mike Sewell will find a way to get the ball to McCaffrey in space. And that's why I'm personally so excited that the preseason's over and we can finally see what they've been hiding, what they've been working on with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, like you said, the reports are he has an entire playbook just solely scripted for him. And so Cam Newton is going to love McCaffrey. And my prediction is, honestly, by the end of the season, you're going to see McCaffrey become Cam Newton's new security blanket and favorite target, which used to be Greg Olsen.
You think that he plays 2 or 3 downs a drive every drive by the end of the season?
Yes, I honestly do. Whether he might not be carrying the ball more than 10, 12 times a game, but he's going to be catching, I honestly think, maybe 10 passes minimum.
Wow.
That's a workhorse. It is. He's a workhorse. And he's built too. He might be small.
Yeah, no, he's definitely small, but he can definitely take some. I mean, he took what, like 20, 30 carries at Stanford? I mean, I know it's not NFL contact every down, but it adds up. And for an entire, 2 years? Like, it adds up, and I think that I have no doubt that he can handle it.
I tell you, though.
I don't understand why people, like, someone, I think the NFL tweeted a picture, or the NFL Instagram posted a picture. It was, who can guard this man? And it was Christian McCaffrey juking out. And it made me scratch my head because has everyone forgotten how fast Deion Jones is at linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons? Has everybody forgotten that? Because that is literally his go-to, is the fact that he can cover any running back. The dude's a DB safety with NFL thud, or NFL linebacker thud ability. And I'll
tell you, he might have the best chance, but if you watch that clip from Panthers practice of all-pro Luke Kuechly getting completely schooled by Christian McCaffrey,
that video did concern me. That video did absolutely concern me. I mean, McCaffrey's going to win a lot more battles than he loses against NFL linebackers.
It's a matchup nightmare for defensive coordinators. And it's not just McCaffrey, honestly. Their second-round pick, Curtis Samuel, out of Ohio State, he's more of a wide receiver, but he can take carries from the backfield, as he showed at Ohio State. He's going to line up in the slot and even out wide some plays.
The Panthers' new identity is going to be versatility and a multitude of plays that kind of confuses people and tries to get you off balance and out of position.
And with all this speed, you still have their hammer, Jonathan Stewart, for the short yards and in the red zone too.
Is Colbert still there too?
No, he's not.
Okay. Well,
I will tell you, though, going around the city of Charlotte, the excitement for the Panthers season is real. Everywhere you go, they're talking about Christian McCaffrey and expectations for this year. Panthers Nation is ready to go. I will say that.
Yeah, no, and that's good. You like to have the town behind your back. Speaking of the town behind your back, the stars of Hard Knocks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're honestly my trendy pick to win the NFC South, just because of the weapons they acquired with Deshaun Jackson on offense to complement Mike Evans. And I just think that Jameis Winston year three or year four? Year three, I think. I'm not sure.
Three.
Yeah, year three. I think this is finally his year to kind of like step up and not make as many mistakes as he has in the past.
Well, I'll tell you the trend, and if you just look at fantasy football, is Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota are the two trendy quarterbacks this year. And I think Jameis has got no excuses this year on offense. I mean, surrounded him with weapons.
The thing about
O.J. Howard out of Alabama in the first round.
What's that?
O.J. Howard, they took in the first round out of Alabama, and they still have Cameron Braid at tight end. You have a top 4 wide receiver in the league in Mike Evans.
Yeah, but the thing about Deshaun Jackson is, I mean, as an Eagles fan, Deshaun Jackson, when he doesn't want to play or he gets disinterested, all of a sudden the hamstring injury comes, and then he's gone for 3 weeks. And that kind of, that you can't operate an offense depending on somebody as heavily as the Bucs might depend on Deshaun Jackson.
But see, I don't know if they will depend on him that much. I think his role is mainly to stretch the field and open more lanes up for someone like O.J. Howard, someone like Mike Evans. And I'll tell you what, though, I'm not a huge Jameis Winston fan, but I will tell you I think he has the leadership to keep someone like Deshaun Jackson in line and keep the locker room together.
Yeah, I think a guy like I think Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Jackson or someone like that kind of pairing isn't necessarily going to be good for Deshaun Jackson. But yeah, you're right. I think Deshaun wanted to play for. They mentioned it in Hard Knocks. Deshaun Jackson wanted to play for Jameis Winston because of that kind of connection and voice that Jameis has. I'm a big Jameis fan. I don't know why. He's entertaining.
He is. He's an extremely talented quarterback, very entertaining. I don't think I'm a huge fan of him because of the Florida State thing. I'm not a big Florida State guy.
Gotcha.
So
I think he's like a better Donovan McNabb. And yeah, no, I know that one. Big
shoes to fill there.
Yeah, no, I mean that is big shoes to fill, but I think he's capable of it, especially like that defense too is Quan Alexander, Chris Baker, and Gerald McCoy up the middle. I mean, I don't understand how anybody's gonna run up the middle on them. And then you've got Brent Grimes, and they've got rookie cornerback from I forget where, but their defense is built well. I mean, the team's all around built well.
It is. I mean, like I said, the Bucs have no excuses this year. I mean, last year they were the trendy pick to make a wild card. They just missed it. This year, I think they will be competing for both the division and the wild card.
The thing that's going to hurt them the most, though, is the scheduling. So their game got canceled this weekend, if you haven't heard. Got canceled yesterday. So they have 11 straight weeks to play. Or 16 straight weeks. They're missing their week 11 bye. That means they're going to have to play. Unheard of. Yeah, I mean, that is nuts. I can't believe the NFL did that to them. They're going to have to figure something out. They're going to have to play a week before they play a Thursday night football game. How crazy is that?
I mean, to be honest, it's even worse than the Miami Dolphins because they have a game in London this year, which took away one of their 8 home games.
Wow.
And then this happens too. I mean, people dread the week 4 bye week. The week 4 is the earliest a bye typically is, and people absolutely dread that. Can you imagine a week 1 bye week? And you have to go 16 straight weeks. That's insane.
It's too much for these NFL gladiators to go through. It's simple, like point blank. It's too much for them to go through. I don't understand how that made sense in the minds of the NFL decision makers. Move this game to Atlanta. I don't know. Like Atlanta's not in town this weekend. Move the game to Atlanta. I mean, I don't understand how this makes any sense.
To be honest, I think it was more of an issue with the players and their families. They don't want them concerned about their families back in Florida when it's going on, and then travel.
There's still also the football aspect. You have to think about the football aspect too.
There is the football aspect, but I think the NFL wanted to put the
players make enough money to take care of their families in a different city. I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the move, but it helps out the rest of the division, to be honest, because
it really does. It helps out more than just the rest of the division. Personally, I think it helps out even teams outside of the NFC South, someone like the Giants, Cowboys, and the Eagles, for one, who are going to be one of them competing for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
I mean, those two divisions have the chance. I can easily see the NFC South having both wild cards. I can see the NFC East having both wild cards.
Yeah,
I can see one from each of them.
Yeah.
And so I think it
because I don't think the
NFC
NFC West,
the landscape.
the NFC West certainly isn't getting a wild card. I mean, the Cardinals, unless they change their ways from last year and Carson Palmer finds the fountain of youth, because the Seahawks are going to win that division. I'm trying to think. The 49ers, no. Who else in that? The Rams, no. I mean, it's all up to the NFC South and the NFC East. Because the NFC North, too, they're bad outside of Green Bay and Minnesota.
I don't think Detroit's headed back to the playoffs.
Detroit, yeah. I don't see anybody out of the North. I think the two best divisions in the conference are the South and the East.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the offseason stuff. The Saints, their big move was Adrian Peterson. Now, I've made the mistake of drafting Adrian Peterson in like 3 of my 4 fantasy leagues, but I do think that Adrian Peterson reeks of Steven Jackson from the Falcons 3 years ago. Do you remember that move?
Yeah, I do.
Active leading rusher over that 30-year-old hump. Everybody kind of thought, all right, he's going to come in with a good offensive line, or not even a good offensive line. He's going to come in and he's going to change the ways of the offense. And he didn't. It was awful. It was one of the most disheartening things to see as a Falcons fan, spending so much money on Steven Jackson. So I'm going to be skeptical of Adrian Peterson, especially with that Saints offensive line and that Saints scheme and the amount of running backs that the Saints have. They still have to split carries with Mark Ingram.
And Alvin Kamara, their rookie.
Alvin Kamara, the new rookie. I mean, it's just one of those things where I just don't see why people are so built up on Adrian Peterson.
Well, fantasy-wise, I don't either. I don't trust any of the Saints running backs in fantasy this year, but if you're talking just straight NFL football, I'll tell you the Saints are loaded at running back, and someone like Sean Payton can find a way with Drew Brees to get them the football, not only in space, but, I mean, they all kind of have their specialty within that scheme.
That's true. If there is an offensive mind that can deal with the running backs and Drew Brees and the offense, it's unfortunately Sean Payton.
I'll tell you what, though. The Saints, I mean, everybody talks about how they lost Brandon Cooks, one of Drew Brees' favorite targets, which completely understandable, but don't underestimate the role that Ted Ginn Jr. will play in that offense. Coming from Carolina to New Orleans, he's going to serve in that slot role.
He's got to catch the ball.
Yeah, he's old, but he's still got speed.
He has some drop issues, and that's something. Yeah, he has some serious drop issues, and I think that's part of the reason why the Panthers kind of let him move on. But the Saints just didn't get any better on defense. I mean, you can score 40 points a game, but it doesn't do you much good when you're giving up 50. I don't know. Maybe the Saints' defense is their running backs. Maybe Sean Payton's going to slow the clock down. He's going to hold the ball longer than they usually do, and that's going to be how they fix their defense, is just holding the ball.
I'll tell you, I did really like their first first-round pick at 11 overall with Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Saints had any idea that he would be there. I didn't think he'd fall all the way to 11, so I think that was one of the best picks in the entire first round.
Yeah, and so but depending on the rookies can be pretty difficult.
Especially at the cornerback position, that's one of the hardest ones to adjust to.
And this is a division with Kelvin Benjamin, Mike Evans, Julio Jones that you're gonna have to face twice. He's gonna lose some battles more than he wins, and I think you just gotta hope that he keeps his head up. You gotta hope that he kind of builds some of that cornerback swagger, that the secret ingredient that all the successful cornerbacks kind of have. So do you think which of those 3 teams do you think made the closest to being better than the Falcons?
I mean, honestly, it's a toss-up between the Bucs and the Panthers. I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers on offense, just because, I mean, they took their 3rd-year quarterback, who is the heart and soul of that team, and they gave him every weapon you could possibly want as a quarterback.
They're still lacking a true number 1 running back, because Doug Martin's going to get suspended. And I just don't have faith in Jacquizz Rodgers or I think it's Charles Sims or whatever his name is. I don't have all the faith in the world in those options at running back.
No, I agree with that. And to play devil's advocate, the Panthers, I mean, they gave Cam Newton some weapons too with Curtis Samuel and Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And they also signed Russell Shepard from the Buccaneers, who will be their slot receiver. And that's a little bit of an underrated move too.
And I'm shocked we haven't mentioned Cam's favorite weapon, Greg Olsen. I mean, he's still there. And he's still going to be a productive tight end. He is Cam's ultimate security blanket.
And I think he's going for his either 4th or 5th straight season with 1,000 yards receiving, Greg Olsen.
And I think that's very doable for him, especially the way Cam leans on him in the offense.
But the biggest thing with the Panthers, though, real quick, is their defense is 1 year wiser. Last year they had, at one point, including their nickel corner, all 3 were rookies. And so this year they have Daryl Worley and James Bradbury starting on the outside. Both are going into their 2nd season. And the reports all throughout camp is that James Bradbury looks locked in and ready to go. I honestly think that he has the potential to be one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL during his career. I mean, he has the potential to be a shutdown corner. He's that good. Huh. So that's a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So, while the rest of the conference or division, went for offensive additions, I guess to kind of keep pace with the Falcons and their multitude of weapons, the Falcons went after Dontari Poe and Takk McKinley in the draft and free agency. A defense, the expectation in Atlanta now is this defense needs to be top 5. They were top 15 last year. They flirted with top 10. The expectation now, Dan Quinn, year 3, this defense should be top 5. Don't be surprised when the Falcons defense is one of those top 5 fantasy defenses with intercept. I mean, the way that they play is fly to the ball. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's hit, it's run, and the way it's built right now, it looks like that. I mean, you saw that first half against the Patriots. That was the pinnacle of defense. Flustering Tom Brady, pick-sixing Tom Brady, sacking Tom Brady. No one else had done that all year in the league. And the Falcons managed to do that for one half of football until – we're not going to go there, but until that happened. And all throughout the playoffs, that defense kept getting better and better and better and better. I mean, you saw them buzzsaw Aaron Rodgers. They disoriented Russell Wilson. And they only added Dontari Poe, who's in a so as opposed to most defensive tackles who get paid big money, long years, and kind of just loaf, Poe is on a 1-year contract. He's got something to prove. Takk, he's a rookie. He's not going to play as much as Vic Beasley and the other DNs in Atlanta. But he's going to get some playing time, and he's going to make a difference. And then Duke Riley was an addition. He's kind of Deion Jones' clone. He's the same exact player. He played with Deion at LSU. And then you got Keanu Neal in year 2. That dude, I don't know if you've watched much film on him. That dude can thump players. I mean, he unloads whatever he's got into every hit that he puts in.
I'll tell you, they love their SEC defenders, the Falcons.
Oh, yeah. Dan Quinn gets it. He loves the SEC defenders. I mean, he's all about it.
I mean, there's no reason why that defense can't be top 5 talent-wise. They have all the talent in the world, so it's just about putting it together.
Yeah, and Desmond Trufant, not people realize this, Desmond Trufant was injured after week 5 last year for the entire year. We didn't have our number 1 cornerback. Brian Poole, the nickelback from Florida, undrafted free agent, he stepped up huge, and he's going to have a starting role this year as that nickel corner. Ricardo Allen, also I think a 5th rounder undrafted. He 2 years ago moved to free safety. Now he's like a top free safety in the league. He's no Earl Thomas, but he can be an Earl Thomas. And I just like the way that the Falcons defense is built from front to back. I think that the way that their depth and their athletic ability, it almost doesn't matter what the offensive additions were in the rest of the conference. That was the attitude of the Falcons. It doesn't matter what they else do because we have a defense that can keep up with it. But hell, do you honestly think that any team got better than the Falcons this offseason?
No, I don't think you can say at this point in time that someone's better than them. I think the Falcons they close the gap significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right there with the Falcons. For the Falcons personally, I think it's Super Bowl or bust this season. They loaded up to go for it, and they have all the chance in the world to get there.
No, it definitely is.
The Panthers and the Buccaneers and the Saints, we'll all have something to say about that.
Yeah, no. And the thing about it is, most years you when you go for it, it's because the division's wide open. The division in the NFC South is not wide open, especially a conference that has a history. I mean, the Panthers were the first team to win it twice, and that was 2 years ago. And the Falcons have a franchise history of, I mean, we didn't have back-to-back consecutive winning seasons until Matt Ryan's third year in the league, or second year in the league. I mean, that is 50 years of not winning back-to-back years. And it's one of those things where it's such a volatile division. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Falcons finish third. And that's just life as a Falcons fan right there. We go to the Super Bowl, come back, finish third. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints come out of nowhere or the Bucks do what they're supposed to do. It's just a volatile division.
Personally, I would be surprised to see the Saints.
No, the Saints the Saints are the favorite to finish fourth.
Yeah, if you can call that a favorite.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's talk about some games this weekend. Tampa Bay, Miami canceled. Obviously, that advantage goes towards the rest of the NFC and the NFC South for Tampa Bay against Tampa Bay because they're going to be playing 16 straight weeks. Atlanta at Chicago Sunday at 1. I'm actually going to be in Chicago for the game. I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm going to be at Soldier Field.
Oh, nice.
The Falcons are only 1 touchdown favorites against the Bears.
That's a little bit surprising to me.
Well, it seems like Vegas is either pulling you in for a sucker bet, or they know something that we don't. And I just don't see Mike Glennon beating the Falcons by like I don't know what I see in the Bears to believe that the Falcons can't beat them by 3 touchdowns.
I don't really see much in that Chicago defense either.
Yeah, no.
To hold the Falcons offense in check.
I think that's kind of one of the free points of the weekend is Atlanta -6 or -7. Those are free points from Vegas. Or so are you going to take Chicago to cover the spread or no?
No, I would think Atlanta wins by 13 plus. To be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's just, I mean, NFL spreads are smaller than college spreads, obviously, but I mean, you can't take Chicago +6 or +7. You can't even take Chicago +10 almost. It's just one of those things where that defense has no ability, and the Falcons are the Falcons. They're the defending NFC champions. They got Julio Jones on offense, healthy after a full year. Next, Panthers at San Francisco, the 4:00 game on Sunday. The Panthers, hold on, I'm looking this up real quick. The Panthers are
5.5 point favorites.
5.5 point favorites. Okay. Mm-hmm. Again, that seems like free points.
It really does, to be honest. I looked at that line when I did my preview article for this game, and I couldn't believe it because you have a rookie head coach in Kyle Shanahan. Maybe there's some –
They didn't get noticeably better.
Firing or what. Okay, so maybe that's one slight advantage for the 49ers is no one's really seen Kyle Shanahan as a head coach. I mean, but then again, look at his quarterback.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going out there with Hoyer. I mean, what are we going to – has Hoyer drinking some magical potion and become out a new quarterback? Like, no matter what offense he's in, he's going to be Brian Hoyer, the Brian Hoyer that we've seen the last 3 years.
The San Francisco defense got a little bit better this year. But on the other hand, defensive coordinators do not have any significant tape on Christian McCaffrey and how Mike Shula plans to use him. And so I think this is going to be the welcome to the NFL game for Christian McCaffrey. His NFL debut, I think he is going to go put on a show.
He's in his hometown, college town out in San Fran. I think it's, again, I don't know what Vegas sees that we don't. I'm taking the Panthers -5.5. I would take the Panthers -10. The Panthers have a lot more to prove than any other team in the NFC South.
They are locked in and ready to go.
They got a lot to prove.
They heard all offseason long about 6-10 after 15-1 in the Super Bowl trip. And so let me tell you, Christian McCaffrey is going to have that extra gear not only in his NFL debut, but like you said, it's basically hometown. There's going to be a lot of Stanford fans there. Yeah, a lot of Stanford. They're going to be behind Christian McCaffrey, that's for sure. It's going to be difficult it's going to be another difficult season for the 49ers. They're not ready to take another step yet. They're not even close. 5.5 points, free points. I'm taking it. I don't know. You're taking it.
Monday Night Football, part of the Monday Night doubleheader. Adrian Peterson said, I can't wait to stick it to the Vikings. In Minnesota against his former team, they're 3-point dogs, and I'm honestly thinking about taking Minnesota in that one.
So it's Minnesota -3?
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one, honestly. The Vikings defense is one of the underrated defenses in the NFL.
Yes.
I think they're very stout against the run, especially.
But
and so
as good as they can be, as good as the Vikings defense can be, Drew Brees is easily capable of lighting them up on offense.
He's capable of beating any defense. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But personally, I don't know if Adrian Peterson's going to be able to stick it to the Vikings when they have that front seven.
And the New Orleans offensive line is still the awful New Orleans defensive or offensive line. It just doesn't – I don't think you make that statement going into this game. I think you try to, they're a great defense. We'll see what I can do. Don't go at it. I'm trying to stick it to them because now you got that defense fired up, which is a good defense. Bad call by Adrian Peterson. I'm taking the Vikings -3.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the matchup comes down to that Vikings defense and the Saints offense because do you really trust Sam Bradford to light it up against I know the Saints defense.
That's the thing. Like he's just going to manage. He's just going to manage the ball. He's going to throw 6-7 yard dump passes to Stephon Diggs and the wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Thielen. Is it Thielen? Something like that.
Yep. And hey, don't sleep on my Ole Miss alum Laquan Treadwell this year. He's gonna have a better.
Well, he didn't even play it down. He didn't even play it down last year. Like, what are you talking about? Don't sleep.
He's gonna have a better year this year.
Everybody's in a hibernation mode on Laquan Treadwell right now.
For good reason, but I'm telling you, the expectations are so low that he can't help but exceed them.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that.
And you also could have another welcome to the NFL moment for Dalvin Cook. I mean,
he's a running back very capable of doing it, and I liked the Vikings' addition of Latavius Murray. I thought that was a good compliment to replace Adrian Peterson.
It's a great duo there, but in the Saints' run defense is suspect, so you could see Dalvin Cook go off in fantasy.
We could. So speaking of fantasy, let's transition to this. Let's pick one sleeper from each of the 3 teams in the NFC South.
All right.
Let's start with the Falcons.
All right. For Falcons, I would say Taylor Gabriel. Maybe more if for regular fantasy, more of a deeper team league to use him. Daily fantasy, it's going to have a small salary, but I think Taylor Gabriel going against that Chicago defense, I mean, he's a deep threat, and I don't see any of the Chicago corners being able to keep up with him. Yeah. I bet he catches a long touchdown during that game.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the 60-yard touchdown guy or the 50-yard touchdown guy in the Atlanta offense. I'm going to go with Tevin Coleman for the Falcons. I think that Tevin has a big game. Not that Devontae won't have a good game on his own. I just think that the Falcons are going to come out with run and trying to do play action and all that. And I think Tevin Coleman can really light up a screen pass or a swing pass out. He catches the ball well. People forget that he catches the ball well out of the backfield.
He's a PPR stud.
Yeah, no, Tevin Coleman's going to be a good player, and I think that he's my fantasy pick. For the Panthers, I mean, it's dumb not to. Are you not picking Christian McCaffrey? Because I'm picking Christian McCaffrey.
Well, the word is sleeper. I mean,
the word is sleeper. Yeah, I guess he's like, the bright lights like coming at you, like Christian McCaffrey, take him. So I guess, all right, I can't take Christian McCaffrey.
I'll tell you mine. I'm going to go with the other Carolina running back, Jonathan Stewart. I mean, he's been the forgotten man in Carolina as far as coverage goes. I mean, he's been going undrafted or drafted extremely late in fantasy football, but let me tell you, the Panthers still have a role for Jonathan Stewart. He will still get his carries, especially in the red zone, and he will be vulturing touchdowns from Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that's something that's going to drive McCaffrey owners nuts all year long. So when they might use McCaffrey to get to the red zone, and then when they get there, Stewart's going to be the one hammering it into the end zone. And so I guarantee you Jonathan Stewart will have at least one rushing touchdown in San Francisco this Sunday.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. Here's my pick for the Panthers defense.
Okay.
They got a chip on the shoulder. They're coming in healthy. Thomas Davis, Luke Kuechly. You said that they upgraded at cornerback.
Thompson.
Yeah.
That front seven is one of the better front sevens in the entire NFL.
Star Lotatui, all those guys. I mean, they are studs up front. So I'm picking the Panthers defense as my sleeper of the week, or as much of a sleeper as Panthers defense can be against San Francisco. But I think Hoyer throws 2 picks, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of those picks goes to the house. Plus, if you can pick the Panthers' defense and special teams, McCaffrey's returning punts. So technically, I get to still pick McCaffrey, even though I picked the Panthers' defense and special teams. That was see how I did that there? I
see how that worked out.
Yeah. Saints, who are you picking?
I'm taking Kobe Fleener, the tight end. I think now that Brandon Cooks is gone, he's going to have a bigger role in the offense this year. Willie Snead is suspended, I believe, 3 games to start the year.
Yeah.
I think it's set up perfectly for him to have a big game in Minnesota. At least catch 1 touchdown.
Okay. Let's see. Saints. Peterson is the high pick, but I think Mark Ingram has the better game. I think Mark Ingram also has that chip on his shoulder. He doesn't want Adrian Peterson to come in here and take his job. But I think even more so than that, Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. Depending on how much the Saints actually use him, I think Drew Brees has lacked a Darren Sproles type player, and Alvin Kamara can be that type of Sproles player with more of a true running back showing. And I think that Kamara can be just as valuable in fantasy as, say, an actual Darren Sproles or Danny Woodhead if the Saints actually use him. It depends. They got a lot of running backs and 1 ball. They do snap the ball a lot, but they also throw the ball a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually use all these people.
I think Kamara is the wild card in that entire offense.
Yeah, people are gonna sleep on Kamara because they haven't heard about him because Adrian Peterson's. Maybe that's the strategy. Maybe the strategy is for Adrian Peterson to talk to the media and blow up the microphone while people sleep on Kamara.
I'll tell you, though, I will be interested in that game because I want to see if Adrian has it in him. I mean, I haven't really watched too much preseason on the Saints, but the rumor has it he's been on fire this entire offseason. So
yeah,
I want to see if he's still got that edge. I mean, he's past the 30-year-old wall, so we'll see. But he did have an entire season off, if you remember.
Yeah, he did have an entire season off. He's trying to run for record books. I mean, people forget that he's pretty close to getting up there in the all-time leading rushing ranks. I'd be surprised if he gets there, but it's also one of those things where he's a freak of nature. I mean, the dude came back 12 weeks from a ACL tear, and he tore his ACL week 16, came back week 1 and rushed for 200 yards in that game. Freak of nature. He can do it. If anybody can keep the production from 21 to 28 years old into 29, 30, 31, 32 years old, it's Adrian Peterson.
Definitely.
Well, that's all we got for today. We appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, I'm Hank.
Erik.
And we're good. We're gonna be here all season. So hopefully we build an audience, and hopefully you guys start interacting with the show some more. We get some fan questions, some Twitter involvement. But until then, have a good one.
Stay dirty, Sewell.
Stay dirty.
We can take
good.
that.
So yeah, so that's basically that was good. I like that.
We're taking that last part out.
I'll tell Tyler to end it where I talk. But yeah, no, that was good. I like that. I think we've got some good chemistry. I think we can both talk some NFC South football for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first podcast I've ever done. So. Oh,
really? Wow. Okay. That was fun. That was good. Then I thought you'd kind of done this before. That was good.
No, that's the first one I'd ever done. So I mean, I've listened to them, but I've never done it myself. So you just get better from there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then once we start the thing about the podcast is once we start arguing, that's when it really picks up. Like genuine arguments. That's when podcasts really start to take off. So that's what we can work on as we go.
All right. I mean, that works.
Awesome.
Yeah, just make sure you tell them to end it before I say that.
Yeah, we'll do.
Some kind of cool closing though. Like
we do. I think that Stay Dirty South is a good one. We just got to fit it in better than we did.
Yeah, it sounded stupid the way I said it. But all right. I mean, that works.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.